Okay, good day, guys. So I'm finally getting to Act 2 of Waiting for Godot and the explanation thereof. So, firstly, I just want to show you once again a few staging techniques that was used to stage Waiting for Godot. Okay. So let's look at this little picture. So this company decided to use not actors but puppets. It looks like string puppets to perform the play. And I think that is so significant because in a lot of the sources that I came across, they said that all the characters are not representations of people. They are representations of situations or an analogy for something. They are not people. They are not human beings. They're not a representation of human beings. So I think in this story, definitely that comes across because they are puppets. And I think puppets also play such an amazing role if you think about the analogy thereof, that we are in the existential crisis that we find ourselves in Waiting for Godot, and even in this day and age, is we are like puppets. We are manipulated by something or someone to do whatever we do. So I think this is actually an amazing directorial choice to cast not people but puppets, and to make it like a puppet show type of setting. So you have the tree there, and it almost looks like this is set in a house. If you look at the border and at the floor and at the walls, it looks like a house with this tree in it, and the tree is planted in the house because you can see the roots of the tree there. Also so significant, such a bizarre picture that is being painted, because we know that Waiting for Godot is theatre of the absurd. So this is an absurd picture where things grow within the house, and there's so many analogies that we can take from that. So this is definitely a directorial option for you that you can maybe choose if you are able to explain it very well. Love this. Then if we look at this little picture, so yeah, it's not on a proscenium stage where we see the audience in front and our staging in front of the audience like normal. Yeah, the audience is situated around the stage, which is such a nice thing as well, because you can view the stage from all angles, and it's also not a rectangular stage. It has these funny offcuts there, and we can see characters can come in from it looks like a little ramp that comes in there. There's no backstage. Very, very absurd, very stylistic in this performance approach. Just hold on, sorry about that. Okay, so then we have the tree, and obviously the deserted area around that, and we have the moon hanging because we know night and day plays such a nice role. So this is also something to look at, a staging technique that we can see, and you can motivate why must the audience sit around the stage, why not use a proscenium stage, why use this unconventional stage setting. And then I also found this little picture, and this is so nice for me. So on the picture, it seems like, now I'm not 100% sure if this happens, but I think this is a rotational stage. So this part of the stage rotates all the time, which obviously highlights the circular nature of existentialism. Remember that never ending life has no meaning. We just go in a circle, just repeat the same thing every day. Absurdist, existentialist practice there. And then it is also the moon. Once again, like I said, the night and day plays such a big role within the play itself. So the moon is like their stage. And I'm assuming that if it is daytime, this is no longer a moon but a sun. Okay, so we see the characters there. This is then our other stage setting where the stage is raised a little bit, almost looks like a pathway, but it looks like a floating pathway, which I think is so absurd. Like, it's not like this can really happen. It actually looks like this is a magic carpet type surreal situation, and we know that the absurd is a surreal state of mind. Okay, so that is also something that is very profound. So once again, I just put this here, guys, to give you an idea of the staging so that you by yourself can think, what is profound for you? How would you stage it? There's so many questions in every year's paper of all the plays of how would you stage it? How would you direct it? What type of characters will you cast? So in looking at these pictures and seeing how it has been done, you can decide what you would have liked to do. So in Act 2, it takes place the next evening, okay, at the same time, at the same place. Okay, so the stage never changes except for the tree. The tree now has 4 or 5 leaves on it all of a sudden. That is the thing that changes. The rest of the setting doesn't change. So why does this happen? There is a sense of growth from one day to the next. Definitely, we can see there. And it's a seasonal change thing. So I read a source yesterday, and I think if you can motivate this very well, it's actually something profound. It's the first time that I've actually heard it, is that this might not take place the next day. Okay? Remember from now a religious point of view, because this was an article that compared it to a religious analogy. In the Bible, one day, 1 year, 1 month, a decade is all the same thing. Time within the Bible does not literally mean a day, a month, a year. Okay, it's all the same. So in this play, it can be the same. There's all of a sudden, there is leaves on the tree. Now, I do understand that this can happen within a day. I mean, if it rains today, tomorrow, all our trees on our property all of a sudden has leaves. So it can happen, but it can also symbolize that if you can motivate it in such a way. But there is some sort of growth. And because this one thing has changed, remember, these characters are creatures of habit. So if there's one small change the next day, they are all thrown because they're so used to the same thing every day. And that's also what I found in a source, that because of World War II, people were so used to routine, so used to the daily life going by. And as I explained in Act 1, their belongings and so on, they cling to it, and they cling to what they know and what is constant, that this one change throws them off, and they even don't know if they are in the same place. But we do know that they are. And the only other thing then is that Astragon's shoes are on stage, as well as Lucky's hat, which we can see on stage. Okay, once again, yeah, a little picture of an advert. Not an advert, I'm talking nonsense. A poster of Waiting for Godot. Okay, so yeah, we see Lucky and Bozo, and Lucky and Bozo, yeah, and we see Estragon and Vladimir, yeah. There is the rope, remember the suicide rope, but it's actually presented as a clock, because we know time is such a big theme within Waiting for Godot. So much play on all of these things, and the words obviously, what are we waiting for? Okay, another staging technique, yeah, it almost looks like it's in a forest type of setting with the tree in the middle. Very surreal tree, because look there, it's like on it's built up in there, so very nice. In the rope with Pozo and obviously Lucky. Okay, cool. I have said that. Cool. Okay. So the second part that I want to look at is Estragon enters and suggests that Vladimir seems happier without him. He says that he does not know why he keeps returning to Vladimir since he too is happier alone. But Vladimir insists that it's because Estragon does not know how to defend himself. So yeah, again, the relationship between Estragon and Vladimir, we know that Vladimir is the more dominant, more controlling character, and Estragon is a bit submissive to him, and Vladimir just makes it clear by saying that Estragon cannot function without him helping. So once again, two very contrasting little pictures that we have here. This setting, now I assume this was in some African country where this was presented. So if you look at the actors, obviously this one is Vladimir and Estragon. So a color lady representing it, and you can see their clothes is a little bit more modern, more set in a South African urban setting. They don't have the hat, but the doek that is on top of her head there. Okay, and Vladimir at this stage, his hat is in his hand. Okay, so also to make it relevant, and it looks like the tree is covered with some white paper here, and if you can put it in a South African setting and explain that, this is a very nice directorial choice. Then if we see it here, this is now a more modern, westernized representation of Waiting for Godot. So we see this white room, very modern, the tree, and then we can see their clothes is more modernish clothes. This almost looks like a type of throwaway character in the modern era. He's sitting on a chair that belongs in an office, so obviously highlighting his rank. And then the two thugs, Vladimir and Estragon, is they dressed in a suit. Okay, so another directorial choice, we have this opening in the roof, which is very nice, so a very modern setting to this. Okay, moving on. Vladimir suggests that things have changed. Remember, the tree change happens in the tree, the growing of the leaves since yesterday, but Estragon does not remember yesterday. So Estragon, I watched a video yesterday where they explained that Vladimir and Estragon must be quite old. Why they said that is that Vladimir has that bladder problem. He has to go to the bathroom so often, and he struggles to go to the bathroom. And Estragon, I think, has a sense of dementia, which both is quite prevalent in older people. So this philosopher actually said that he's pretty sure that they are old people because they struggle with old people's problems. Okay, so it was a professor, I think it was from Harvard University if I'm not mistaken. But the two of them suggest older people. So they don't remember, and Vladimir then obviously reminds him of Pozo and Lucky and the hat that is there and what has happened. Okay, another little poster here, waiting. So you can see the eye is the tree and it looks like a person standing there in the tree. Godot, the O is replaced with a leaf because we know the leaf shows growth and all that. Okay, another one here, the moon is suggested as a clock because of the time. Obviously, we have the two characters that are almost merged into one standing there because they do represent the people, the everyday man, as I explained yesterday. Okay, cool, guys. So the next thing I want to think about is Estragon once again sees that it would be better if they part. But Vladimir reminds him that he always comes crawling back. They decide to converse calmly, but soon run out of things to say, and Vladimir grows uncomfortable with the silence. Okay, so once again, Vladimir wants to convince Estragon that relationship, that power over Estragon, that he's the dominant character. Says to him, yeah, you say we can part, but you always come crawling back. And then they just converse calmly. And Vladimir gets uncomfortable with the silence. So why does he get uncomfortable with the silence? What does that say to us about him as a character? I don't think he is a very comfortable character. Someone who is not comfortable with silence in a conversation normally feels uncomfortable because of themselves. If you are very comfortable with a person, you can sit in silence with them for a very long time. But what is making him so uncomfortable? Is it maybe the waiting, the uncertainty? He's characteristic to overpower and to say something all the time? Why is he uncomfortable with the silent? So this is something that you can think about and explore a little bit more. So here is a little quote from Samuel Beckett. Nothing matters but the writing. There has been nothing else worthwhile, a stain upon the silence. Now remember, I said to you guys in the previous video that after World War II, the writers and directors thought that there's nothing to write about anymore, nothing to put out there. There is nothing. They're in an existential crisis. They don't know what is real, what is not, where they come from, why they are there. And this little quote plays exactly on that. There's nothing to write about. Okay. Then Vladimir looks at the tree and notices that it now is covered with leaves. Now it says covered with leaves. Now this is something that it says like that in the play. It comes directly from the play, but it is not covered in leaves. There's only 4 or 5 leaves on it, but it shows you the time that they are in, that he thinks that if there is leaves on a tree, it is covered with the leaves. And that suggests, even if there's a little bit of hope, a little bit of change in the growth, then that gives them so much hope. And if you take the hope that they have in Godot, they wait for this person, and just the promise that he will come is enough for them. They don't have to see him. They don't have to get to know him. They don't even have to, it doesn't even have to realize that he comes, but that little bit of hope that he can come is enough for them to hold on to this belief. So that can play on that. Although yesterday it was bare. Estragon says that it must be spring, but also insists that they were not here yesterday. Okay, remember he's Alzheimer's, the change in something says that they weren't there, but he says maybe it's spring, so it's a seasonal change that happens. And that's why I say to you guys, it might not be one day, it might be a season that has passed and now they are there again. If you can motivate that very well, it is something to explore. Okay, Vladimir reminds him of the bones that Pozzo gave him and the kick that Lucky gave him, and shows him the wound on his leg. So now Vladimir resorts to what we in the beginning learn is Estragon's first nature, and that is to care about his emotions and his feelings. Remember, I said to you guys at the beginning that he is a self-centered character. He is a character that represents emotion, represents the physical self, and not the analysis part. Remember, I said that he represents the body and Vladimir the head, the thinking part. So he resorts to what he knows is his nature and reminds him of the wound to remind him of the situation. He asks Estragon where his boots are. And when Estragon replies that he must have thrown them away, points out the boots on the stage triumphantly. Okay, so there is your boots. Okay, so we were here yesterday because your boots are here. Okay, and talking about the boot, here's another little poster that has the boot and the tree growing out of it. Because the boot plays also such a significant role, it's a constant in the play itself. And here as well. And I also think that it is old boots like that because the majority of the sources say that the two men, Vladimir and Estragon, is thugs. So they are homeless nomads that just travel and wait for something to happen. Estragon, however, examines the boots and saying that they are not his. Vladimir reasons that someone must have come by and exchanged his boots for Estragon's. Okay, so he denies it because he cannot remember, once again highlighting the forgetfulness of the character. But then Vladimir convinces him that maybe someone has exchanged the boots, but he can use them anyway. Vladimir gives Estragon a black radish, but since he only likes pink ones, he gives it back. So even though they have nothing, they still have preferences. And once again, just goes to show Estragon's nature and what he is all about. So this setting looks like it is set in a natural setting. So there's natural light coming through, suggesting the moon, obviously. And then there are the two hats, the shoes that are on the floor there. So this is a typical postmodern way of staging where you use the natural light, no bright lights and full stages. It's quite a bare stage with natural lighting. Also a good directorial choice for postmodern existentialistic absurd. Then Estragon says he will go and get a carrot, but he does not move. Okay, a very bizarre thing to do because the stage direction says he remains where he is. So also a very absurdist choice because you say you're going to do something, but you do the opposite. And isn't that what absurdity is all about? To create that question, to not spoon feed the audience. Vladimir suggests trying the boot on Estragon and they fit, but Estragon does not want them laced. Estragon sits down on the mount and tries to sleep. Vladimir sings him a lullaby and he falls asleep but soon wakes up from a nightmare. And remember, this is also a repetitive thing that has happened. It has happened in scene 1. It now again will happen, the dream that he wants to tell Vladimir, but Vladimir doesn't want to hear about it because he's not interested in emotional willy-nilly things. He's interested in facts and what is happening. And when he sings, it's almost like Estragon gets a little bit mad at him and says to him, don't sing that loudly, because he all of a sudden sings very loudly. And the use of music in this way is also an absurd thing to do, because it's not like a musical to tell a story. It's not like Vladimir to sing. He's the serious dominant character, and all of a sudden he breaks out in song. It's not in his character to do that, but we do know that absurd theatre, the characters do not do what is in their character. Okay. Vladimir is pleased to find Lucky's hat on the ground because he believes it confirms that they are in the correct spot. So the fact that he is relieved too, that he's also doubting himself. Why is he relieved to find this hat? If he is so sure that they are at the right place, that they were there yesterday, why is he relieved? So that also highlights the existential crisis that they are in. They don't know what is real and what is not. What is a dream state and what is reality? He puts on Lucky's hat and hands he's to Estragon, who takes off his hat and hands it to Vladimir. So there's this little hat exchanging moment there where they exchange the hat, put the hat on, take it off, pass it on, take the hat, put it on, pass it on. So it's this little clowning type of movement there. And we know that Samuel said that this is a tragic comedy. Okay, so that is where the comical comes in, and we know the characters suggest the comedy, suggests oh man, what is the now I can't think, the little man with the hat, that comic character. It represents that Charlie Chaplin, a very Charlie Chaplin-like movement. He does this quite often in his silent films, where he plays this little clowning type character, removing the hat, putting it on. So once again, the absurdity of these very serious characters dealing with this very serious situation, but yet drawing from something like clowning and representing that. The switching occurs several times until once again Vladimir wears Lucky's hat and Estragon wears his own hat. Vladimir decides that he will keep Lucky's hat since he's bothered him. They begin to play Poser and Lucky's role, with Vladimir imitating Lucky and tells Estragon what to do to imitate Poser. So obviously, even though Estragon now takes on the dominant role, Vladimir still tells him how to do that. He can't just do whatever he wants. So once again, that power struggle. Estragon leaves, but quickly returns because he hears something coming. Vladimir is sure that Godot is coming, and Estragon hides behind the tree. So also a bizarre thing, an absurd thing to do, is this big man hiding behind a very thin tree. Okay, surreal moment there. And in the article that I told you guys that I read about the religious connotation to waiting for Godot, they say that this stage is where Adam and Eve try and hide from God. As soon as God appears in the Garden of Eden, they also hide in the bushes, but you cannot hide from God. So it's the same type of thing, hiding behind this single branch tree where you can see you. The Godot will still be able to see the person. He realizes that he is not hidden, and comes out, and the two men begin to watch, with one stationed on each side of the stage. When they both begin to speak at once, they get angry and begin insulting each other. Okay, so that is obviously also a very absurd thing to do, is to start speaking together, saying the same thing, and then fighting. After they finish their insulting, they decide to make up and embrace. They briefly do some exercises and then do the tree, staggering around on one foot. Okay, very clown-like movements there, once again drawing from the comical in the characters. While Vladimir and Estragon staggers about, pitying themselves, Poser and Lucky enter. Poser is blind now all of a sudden. We don't know why. We don't know. Nothing is ever said why he is blind, because in absurd theatre there's no background to our characters. Our characters don't come from anywhere. They just are. They are there, like the absurdist existentialist view. And runs into Lucky, who has stopped at the sight of Vladimir and Estragon. They fall along with all the baggage. Okay, them falling, once again a clowning-like movement there, falling on top of each other. Now it's very funny because they cannot get up. But it's not funny. It is not funny in the play. It doesn't make us laugh, because remember, absurdist play, what must make you laugh makes you cry, what must make you cry makes you laugh. Okay, Vladimir welcomes their arrival, since it will help to pass time. Pozo calls for help while Vladimir and Estragon discuss asking him for another bone. So this character has fallen on the ground. They are asking for help and they care about a bone, getting a bone. Vladimir decides that they should help him, but first he and Estragon discuss how they have kept their appointment. Pozo continues to cry for help and eventually Vladimir tries to assist him, however he falls, also while trying to pull up Pozo. Clowning state. They're trying to help you up, but then I fall. But still, it is not funny. It is not funny when they do this. It shows the helplessness of the character and how one character, one representation of a person can pull down another. And isn't that what World War does? Is everybody just pulls each other to the ground. No one lifts one another up. So a very good analogy that you can explore there. Estragon threatens to leave, but Vladimir begs him to help him up first, promising that they will leave together afterwards. Okay, now the power has changed. Pozo is now blind and he is reliant on Lucky. Lucky is now the dominant. And then Vladimir and Estragon's roles have also reversed because now Vladimir is begging for Estragon's help. So those roles have now reversed. Estragon tries to help him but ends up falling as well. Okay, so this is also a little picture, obviously Pozo blind, and then the two characters are Vladimir and Estragon. So you can see are also a bit modernized if you look at their clothing, if you look at the hat choice there. Also another directorial nice change. Okay guys, so I don't know if this is the last slide now. So just to avoid an abrupt stop in the recording. A lot of information once again in Act 2. There's so much to explore and I don't think there's enough time in the world to explore every situation, every scene, but there is really so much to take from everything. And it's not about identifying the moments, it's about explaining how the moment relates to what you analyze in it. You can analyze anything in it, but as long as you can explain it extensively and for it to make sense, it can never be wrong. Okay, so if this is the last slide, thank you very much for listening, guys. Please feel free to ask any questions. I really am here to help you and assist you through everything. Okay, cool. Not the lights. All four men now lie on the ground and Vladimir and Estragon begin to nap. So now they sleep. What a bizarre thing to do. They are woken shortly by Pozo's shouting and Vladimir strikes Pozo to make him stop. Pozo crawls away and Vladimir and Estragon call to him. He does not respond and Estragon decides to try other names. He calls him Abel, okay, Cain and Abel, maybe a play on that. And Pozo responds by crying for help. He wonders if the other one is called Cain. But Pozo responds to the name as well. Okay, why? Because Pozo can be either. And Estragon decides that he must be all of humanity. What a profound saying. Vladimir and Estragon decides to get up, which they do with ease. Now all of a sudden they can get up. They help Pozo up and hold him, and Pozo tells them that he does not recognize them since he is blind. They tell him that it is evening and then begins to question him about the loss of sight. He tells them that it came upon him all of a sudden and that he has no notion of time. Okay, so it's never really explained what has happened, but time we know is a very profound theme within the play. Waiting, passing time, yeah, doesn't know. Pozo asks the men about his slave, and they tell him that Lucky seems to be sleeping. They send Estragon over to Lucky, and Estragon begins kicking Lucky. He hurts his foot and goes to sit down. Vladimir asks Pozo if they met yesterday, but Pozo does not remember. Also, a little bit of Alzheimer's there. Pozo prepares to leave, and Vladimir asks him to have Lucky sing to recite before they leave. However, Pozo tells him that Lucky is dumb. So now all of a sudden he's dumb. Okay, putting him down because he is now actually dependent on Lucky. So he doesn't want them to know that Lucky is now actually the person who is leading him. They exit, and Vladimir sees them fall off stage. After Pozo and Lucky leaves, Vladimir wakes Estragon. Estragon is upset at being woken up, but Vladimir tells him that he was alone. Okay, so remember, if there's only two people once again on stage and one is asleep, you feel alone. Okay, and this habit of sleeping where Estragon keeps sleeping, also repetition, part of absurdism, part of the existential crisis, the same thing all over again. Estragon gets up, but his feet hurt, so he sits down again and tries to take off his boot meanwhile. Vladimir reflects upon the events of the day. Estragon dozes off again after unsuccessfully struggling with his boot. Okay, here we can see that Lucky is a woman. And casting Lucky as a female also suggests so much. So if you make that directorial choice, why are you doing that? What are you suggesting? Yeah, are you suggesting the patriarchal society that came out of World War II? Because that is something to definitely explore. The boy enters and calls to Vladimir. Vladimir recognizes the routine and knows what the boy is going to say before he says it. So that shows you that it's happened in the past. Same answers, same questions. They established that the boy was not there yesterday, but that he has a message from Mr. Godder saying that he will not come this evening, but definitely tomorrow. Something that occurs quite often. This staging technique, they've staged it with Nazis. Okay, we know that the little mustache is a very profound Nazi characteristic put on characters, and that is also a good directorial choice, that it is the effect of World War II, where the Nazis took over. So a good directorial choice there. Okay, we have the two characters there, dressed in rags. Remember I said they are represented as thugs. Vladimir asks the boy what Mr. Goddard does, and the boy replies that he does nothing. Remember, the play starts with nothing, the word nothing. Now it is ending with nothing. Okay, absurdism. There is nothing. Nothing makes sense. We are here because of nothing. Vladimir asks the boy about his brother, and the boy tells him that his brother is sick. Vladimir asks if Mr. Goddo has a beard and what color it is. The boy asks Vladimir what he should tell Mr. Goddo. And Vladimir tells him that he should say that he saw him. The boy runs away as Vladimir springs towards him. Okay. So the boy replies that he has a white beard, also suggesting a majestic, fable-like character like Santa. Santa also has the long white beard. So suggesting a character that might not exist, bringing that into play. The sun sets, Estragon wakes up, takes off his boot and puts them down at the front of the stage. Once again, repetition. He approaches Vladimir and tells him that he wants to go. Vladimir tells him that they cannot go far away because they have to come back tomorrow to wait for Goddo. Once again, the same repetition ending the play as it started. They discuss hanging themselves from the tree, but find that they do not have any rope. Estragon says that they can bring some tomorrow. And we know that that initially happened at the end of Act 1. Okay, but because Estragon has Alzheimer's, he forgets about the rope. And the same thing happens. The circular motion continues. Estragon tells Vladimir that he can't go on like this, and Vladimir tells him that they will hang themselves tomorrow unless Godot comes. Vladimir tells Estragon to pull up his trousers, but have fallen down when he removed the cord, holding them up in order to determine whether it could be suitable for hanging. They decide to go, but once again do not move as the curtain falls. So they even decide, okay, they want to kill themselves, once again hanging themselves, ending it all, but the rope is too short. The belt that is keeping his pants up is too short. Once again, a clowning movement, taking off the belt, dropping up the trousers. A very comical character. However, the situation in the play is not comical. It questions, why is he doing this? Okay, and they say they're going to go, but still they remain. Okay, and the curtain falls. This is definitely the last slide. Thank you very much for listening, guys. Have a nice day. Work through all the notes, and we will get to it. Thanks.